pleasure.
If we could just start by talking about the conference that you held on Tuesday. We've been trawling the internet looking for people's reactions to it, and there's some mixed opinions out there. On the one hand, people seem to appreciate that N-Gage is a very good product. It's well built, it's got good specs. But on the other hand, people were quite surprised at the price announcement. What were your thoughts on how the conference goes?
So we were obviously expecting quite a lot of comments, since everybody has an opinion when it comes to price, and since our device is sort of a bridging two industries, telecoms and games industry. So we were expecting obviously quite a lot of comments from the game industry perspective, since people are already familiar with price points like 99, 149, and we were sort of introducing a new price point. And obviously that sort of created a lot of questions that say what's the logic behind that. And we believe that our device is totally new kind of like entry, and it's creating a sort of a new segment based on mobility, connectivity, and all of that. And I think the critical point there is that when people think about game devices, it's important to sort of realize that taking any other mobile game device, that when you don't have the game in the device, it's pretty much worthless to the consumer. Whereas our N-Gage, if you don't have the game inside, it's still it's a good global mobile phone. You can access internet, you can do your email, so there's lots of supporting activity there, lots of value beyond the games, and that's why we believe that $299 is a good starting point. And obviously we have been doing quite a lot of focus group research and to sort of check that whether our assumptions are correct. And currently we feel pretty comfortable that $299 is sort of a decent entry. However, October 7th is where we can really start verifying our assumptions.
And when you say it's globally usable, do you mean is it GSM?
It's
tri-band.
GSM tri-band, so US, Europe, Asia Pacific.
Right. So, I mean, given that you can use it globally, I mean, normally tri-band phones are pitched to business users. Obviously, this is games primarily. So, how would you describe the demographic that you're targeting for this product?
It's clearly a more mature audience than the ordinary mobile game segment is currently. We are focusing on a 18 to 35-year-old, active, mobile, outgoing people that are interested in the social aspects of gaming. So I think the key motivation for those kind of consumers is socializing with your friends. So that's our target group, a typical user.
And what about the software lineup? I mean, you revealed some of the deals that you've done for the titles so far, but I mean, how do you expect to expand this strategy? I mean, we've seen, for example, when new players come into the market, we had Microsoft, for example, a few years back. Over time, they've proved that what counts the most are games. They've been able to acquire those third-party relationships with publishers, get titles. So I mean, what's the sort of medium, long-term strategy with partners for N-Gage?
So I think that there are a couple of good things about N-Gage. So first of all, it offers a totally new kind of technologies that will enable new types of gameplay. So the developers are pretty enthusiastic about the various multiplayer, Bluetooth, online capabilities, and we are getting a lot of good ideas from the developers that how about doing this kind of a game, how about adding this feature our existing game. And the point is that now they can differentiate once again using creativity, and that's excellent news. So that gives us a good sort of reason to believe that we will be ramping up our sort of a portfolio. At launch, we have said that 10 titles, say October the 7th. You can expect 10 or so new games being announced between today and the Christmas Eve, which means that the Nokia strategy is now to sort of add a continuous flow of new games, third party, first party, so on and so forth. And so that Christmas market in 2004, we are approaching a 100 level games. Whether it's 180 or so remains to be seen, since it's up to our performance this Christmas.
One of the things we noticed on the game demonstrations you had at the conference was, although it's obviously the first handheld device to use proper 3D graphics engine, the frame rate is often single digits. Do you think that N-Gage is a platform that developers have yet to reach potential?
I think that what we are seeing in here is that it's a new platform, and there's a learning curve for each and every new platform. And if you look at the games, as you said, there's a variation. There's games that where you have smooth frame rates, clearly 25 plus frames per second, and then you had games single digit. I think that's I think we had only one game, I believe, where that was the case. That was very early sort of alpha or sort of concept demo.
Right.
So I think that tells more about the learning curve that the developers are having to go through, rather than the performance of the device. So I think that's like you saw, like Tony Hawk, there the frame rates were. I think the feedback was pretty good.
If we just talk briefly about competition, because in the next few years, the handheld market is going to be bigger than it's ever been before, if the analysts are to be believed. I mean, obviously PSP was announced from Sony on just a few hours before your conference, and also there's lots of whispers about Nintendo's successor to GBA,
Yep.
Which may or may not come before the PSP or whatever. But they're clearly going to be high spec machines.
Yep.
Judging by the companies that are releasing them, they're going to be very aggressive in the way they sell and market those products. So, I mean, how much do you know about your rivals' projects, and how do you plan to compete?
Well, we know quite a lot of what's going on there. So obviously we get that information through our traditional sources, and obviously we are in discussions with all of the companies that are relevant to this industry. So I think that's it's been a sort of Nokia culture that we sort of focus on what we are doing, and we do it as well as we can, and then the consumers will decide that which of the devices will become like a possible substitutes, i.e. what's the competitive landscape. And we just trying to execute. However, I think that's what's an interesting thing is that if you look at the Nokia's track record, or the telecoms industry track record, how fast we turn around.
Yeah.
So remember, Nokia announced that there's an entertainment and media business unit last May, and now we are in May. So 12 months from there, we are coming out with a device with a lineup of games, and so we are very familiar with the fast turnaround times and cycle times, and I think that's especially right now when convergence is really happening, you really need to sort of master all the different kind of like technological developments with relatively fast process. And I think that's I think we feel very comfortable in that kind of situation. So typically, like at E3, people are announcing products that are coming in 12 months or 18 months and 24 months, and we are from announcement to shipments, less than 12 months.
Right. And just following on from that, given the unpredictability of competitors, how swift do you think you'll be in maybe changing direction slightly if you have to, in terms of selling and marketing?
I think it's an excellent question, and I think the whole point is that what does that mean? So how swift in doing what? So obviously we are all the time absorbing information and feedback and reacting to that. And as I already said, that's typically in the mobile phone industry we are delivering several models in the month on the average.
Well, I mean, what's the manufacture cost of the unit? And are you taking a loss, or are you making anything on it, or what?
So I think that's obviously we are not speculating on that at the moment. But as I said, we believe that the device has value as such. So when people are now sort of saying comments that in the games industry, the hardware is an enabler for the games, and that's absolutely true. But what we are saying is that the segment that we are building, and with the devices like N-Gage, the device will have value also without the games. So therefore, that would believe justifies us to sort of sell also that device as a normal value proposal.
But I mean, has Nokia not stated at any point what the manufacturing cost of the...
No, I think that right now the whole manufacturing cost in terms of telecommunications industry is kind of like a competitive advantage, and that's why we are not sort of disclosing any numbers there.
So what about the people on the executive team for this product? Obviously, gaming is highly aggressive in the marketplace. What are the backgrounds of the figureheads at N-Gage, and what are they going to do?
I think that what we have been doing, we have obviously working on entertainment for a number of years. So we have already quite good in-house competencies, and during the last 12 months or so, we have been recruiting people from a game industry, music industry. We have skills, new skills when it comes to sort of logistics of games and how to manage that. So we are building a talent and having kind of like a targeted recruitments rather than massive acquisitions or things like that. So I think we have a good balanced mix of Nokia expertise, consumer goods expertise, game expertise. So we are strengthening that all the time.
I mean, where do you hope the N-Gage product will be? Firstly, 1 year from now, and secondly, let's say 3 years from now.
I think that's for me the key success factor is that when you ask an N-Gager or a person who has an N-Gager, what does mobility and mobile games mean? The consumers can answer to that. So I hope that we can build this new segment that and come out with mobile games which really sort of inspire the developers and publishers and bring new experiences to the consumers. So, which means that I don't have volume targets in my mind. I don't have financial targets. Obviously, they are there, but I'm more worried about and more concerned about making a good entry and a good statement that the consumers can relate to.
And just to finish, what do you hope gamers will be saying about N-Gage?
I think that I'd like them to say that, this is a new dimension to gaming. Now I can reach my friends and I can communicate with my friends through games and with games, and we can extend the experience and enhance the experience which we had in a sort of a traditional mobile gaming. So. Next step, I think, is the slogan I would like to sort of hear from the consumers as well.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks.
And we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling? That's fabulous. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great.